you to first, you need to check out h.price with Magical Vacation Planners. Do you have a vacation coming up? And do you want to go to see Disney? The best way to do that is have somebody plan it for you because there's a lot to do. And guess what? That's free to you. You don't have to pay her anything. All travel planners get paid by the resort. And actually, when you go to those resorts, you pay that fee whether you had a planner do that for you or not. So why not have somebody plan it for you properly? So make sure you check out my wife, h.price. My wife. Over on Facebook is the best way to get a hold of her. You can look up Magical Vacation Planner by h.price. And send her a message over on Facebook for a free quote for anything you want to do, anywhere you want to go. Usually there's some all-inclusives included in that, and anything Disney. So hit her up. You, Tim, go.
All right. Next, I want to talk about a good friend of the program, Nate Collins. Nate Collins is a local car salesman here at Spitzer Motors in Mansfield, Ohio. Yeah! Indeed. He's an experienced car salesman and just a genuinely good dude who's going to treat you right. No matter, if it's
what?
something that's like maybe not even going to like help him like personally, he'll be like, yeah, maybe I won't guarantee that. Maybe I won't offer or not offer, but recommend this to you. So you can kind of trust that he's got your best interest in mind, and you can trust him to get a great deal on a car. But to sweeten the deal, not just is he a great dude,
sweeten it up.
He's gonna give you free car washes for the life of the vehicle should you purchase one. And then that's an offer you can't just get.
I never asked him, so that means anytime you go back to Spitzer or you're driving by Spitzer, you can just pull in and be like,
yeah.
Wash my car.
Yeah.
They just wash your car.
No, they got nothing better to do, man.
They're like, we've been waiting all day. Get in here.
And not only that, they're also if you recommend a friend or somebody that's not a friend, and they end up purchasing a car through them, you're gonna get $100. A Benji. Just for opening your mouth and recommending Nate Collins, my boy.
Tim's boy.
So, yeah, if you're looking for a new car, and we all are, we're all looking, even though we may not have the means right now,
Yeah.
But I'm just like, you know what? Kind of want a new car. So if you do, get a hold of Nate Collins.
How do you do
at
that?
419-961-4581. Give him a text.
Yes.
And he'll hook you up.
Sure will. Lastly, we got to shout out Jarek Schaefer.
Woo!
We love Jarek over here. He's done a lot of art for the podcast. And he did that.
Oh, my bad.
Thank you, Tim. The stuff that Jarek did will be on the wall behind us.
He did the Dummy Dungeon one.
Yes, he did. The Dummy Dungeon one. We were going to get that. And he did the Skate Mansfield one. And he took some of Carson Beck's art and digitized it for us. So we got tons of stuff. But if you want him to do any sort of art for you, he's available for commissions in either digital art or for inking and painting. You can reach out to him at schaefer.jarek82@gmail.com. All of this stuff will be in the episode description. You can check out his art on his Instagram at DJ_artsy, ARTSY_Shaf, SHAF. He also streams his artwork on Twitch over at twitch.tv/DJShadyShafe. Hard to say. Please go and subscribe and follow him. If you're on Twitch watching us right now on Twitch, go on over, look him up, give him a follow so he gets some love. But from there, I think we're going to go into the episode.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Not used to the Twitch being ahoy hoy dummies, and welcome to the Teach a Dummy podcast. Actually, I should be doing
Ahoy, ahoy.
Dummies, and
also-
welcome to the Teach a Dummy podcast. Woo! I'm h.price, joined as always by my good buddy.
Tim Metcalf. Yo.
And we're
What it
sans, we are sans Gavin again. It sounded, from the text, it
Yeah.
sounded like he was going to be here,
Yeah, you said run it.
which I thought... 'cause
Which I think in Gen Z speak, help us out here, Carson. I think that means he's going to be here, right?
we think. Oh. But, yeah, so no Gavin today, but I got Tim with me. We are live on Twitch. If you guys want to watch us live on Twitch or check the video out, you can go over to the Patreon as well, because we'll run the video over on the Patreon. He said basically continue on. Okay.
Oh, so maybe
so-
I'm dumb.
Oh. He may or may not.
He ain't
show- That's what that means?
Okay.
Man, we're old.
Like run it regardless. Got you. Okay.
But I thought... Yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, thanks. Gen Z speak. Woo, let's go.
We're learning. See, we're already learning.
We learning, and with that, I'm transitioning well. I know what I'm doing. We're gonna learn. I'm hitting the button. Oh, it's time to learn something.
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb. I'm smart, and I want respect.
So, Tim, I have to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you remember or know what the Iran Contra Affair was?
I've seen Argo. Is that? I think that had something to do with
Okay,
it.
yeah. So that was like the Iran part, I
Okay.
think, because that was that when the assembly got stormed?
Yes.
Okay.
And then like they were
Yeah.
held hostage or something,
Mhm.
and they created a fake
For over
movie
a
to get
year.
through customs. That's
So,
about all I know. I mean, that's about. You can tell me, and then I would probably remember it. But
okay.
like, yeah.
So I'm gonna teach everybody a little something, because what brought this on was I'm a huge fan of the Dollop podcast. If you haven't listened to that, they're two comedians, very funny, but they do American history. They actually have a side podcast that they did like a short run of 10 episodes where they did English history. They also do Australian history, but they go through a bunch of stuff. I was listening to their 500th episode, which was a two-parter about Ronald Reagan, and they had
such a weird topic to choose for your 500th episode.
It was so big, but they had Patton Oswalt on for it,
Oh, okay.
so it was
Oh,
really
I'm
good.
definitely listening
That
to this then.
And that one's really good. So I was listening to that walking around the house, and some of the stuff through the Iran Contra, they were talking about some of the craziness, like towards the end of it when he kind of got busted and reporters were hounding him, they just kept putting him in front of increasingly louder stuff for them to talk. Like they would be like, okay, well, turn the chopper on and then put him in front of that. And if they want to ask questions, he can just say he can't
I
hear
can't
them.
hear you.
Yeah. And they did that with some other stuff. So I was kind of, there was some other stuff going on, but that they were talking about, and I was giggling. Hannah asked me, it's just like, I'm like, well, it's kind of this crazy stuff that Ronald Reagan did, but it was during the Iran Contra Affair. And she's like, what's that? I'm like, you don't
Wait,
don't know?
what? Ronald Reagan did crazy stuff?
I'm like, wait, you don't know anything about Iran Contra? She's like, nope. I'm like, Oliver North. She's like, no. I'm like, Fawn Hall. She's like, no, why? Okay, just fast forward then. That night we were finishing up Only Murders in the Building. And I swear to you, I hadn't seen it before. We hadn't watched it. This was the new episode.
There's a joke about Ronald Reagan in there.
There's a joke about Iran Contra where they're in the stairwell, and Martin Short makes the joke about he said something like, what is this, Iran Contra or something? And then Steve Martin is like, don't challenge my knowledge about Iran Contra. He's like, and they start spouting off the people. They're like Oliver North, and then he's like, you can't forget. And they're like, they both say Fawn Hall, and I'm like, Hannah, I swear, I had
have not
no
seen this
idea.
episode before.
I was just listening to this episode of a podcast. I had no idea, so it was just kind of bonkers. So I did some more.
Maybe they saw the episode.
Oh, where?
Dollop. Maybe they saw the episode and were like, "Hey, we should."
No,
make
the 500 episode of the Dollop. This was like in 2020.
Oh, okay. Never
So
mind.
they're up to like 600 episodes.
Oh, my bad.
now. They've got quite a few, but I listen to all of them as much. I'm trying to get through all of them. They're all really good. But so I just wanted to quickly go through. I'm going to give you a very dumb education. was it perhaps the anniversary? I'm not sure of dates of it. I know the years. So I think it started in 1982. So I guess it would be an anniversary.
Yeah.
But so here we go. So I'm gonna give you the dumb basics of this. Everybody get ready to learn. So Ronald Reagan hated communism. So he comes into office. You know, he's a governor before. He was a governor before, and he was an actor before that. But in that time that he was an actor, it was in his early years, he absolutely abhorred communism. Then, through all that, and then once he got into office, he actually felt that communism and capitalism could not exist at the same time. There's a joke about a Sith in there somewhere about one can't survive while the others, or one there's always an apprentice and something. I don't know, but communism and capitalism, he felt just could not coexist, right? So it was actually his platform that when he ran that he will aid anybody in conflict with any sort of communist nation or anything. We will provide aid.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of it. So enter Nicaragua. So Nicaragua. Ronald Reagan hated that was a communist, like, it's not a communist nation. There was like a communist party that was running Nicaragua, the Sandinistas. But it actually...
Did they take over Lake Titicaca?
They basically were they rose to power kind of because of our occupation of the area in 1912 to 1943, and they hated us, and we did some terrible things down there.
Of course.
And that was
as we are known to do.
It was called the Banana Wars.
Nice.
Yeah.
We are good at naming things. I will give us that.
Oh, absolutely. So the Sandinistas are running stuff down there, and the rebels who were there at the time were the Contras. Okay, so Reagan wants to give aid to the Contras. So he's taking, government dollars and everything that he can get from Congress, which was mostly Republican at that time while he was in office during his first term, was a Republican Congress. So he got the okay to send aid to the Contras. So he's sending them money so that they could buy guns to, arm themselves against the Sandinistas. Sorry, I got lost in my notes there. Okay, so the rebels were fighting the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Reagan was going to help them. At that time, Congress, okay, I did that. But in 1982, the House flipped to Democrat, and that combined with a Newsweek article that came out at the time, it kind of dictated that we were giving money to the Contras, which were okay. So they were anti-Sandinista, but they weren't really pro-America, and they were also not doing good things. They were grabbing children and cutting their heads off and doing terrible things as well. But
that's relative,
right? So they we are learning stuff. Woo. But so okay, so once it flips, right? Congress passes the Bolin Amendment, which stated that Reagan specifically could not send money because that all of the press that was around it.
Yeah.
They specifically said you cannot send aid through or use the CIA or government funds to support the Contras as they fight the Sandinistas, right? So nothing changed, and the CIA kept helping until one specific incident happened. So what they found, like, these little loopholes in the Bolin Amendment, so they would give arms and stuff to somebody else, and then they would give it to the Contras, and so they would still have it.
Oh, yes, yeah, so
but
it's just like, yeah,
it gets
finding
worse.
loopholes and stuff. Yeah.
It gets so much worse. So they should just let them do it because, like, they're going to find a way anyways. Right. So the Contras were very inept in doing a lot. So it was very much the CIA's like, get out of the way, we'll just do it. So what they did to kind of deter the Sandinistas and keep stuff out of the harbor, in their shipping harbor there, what they did was they put these mines in the water, and they explode, and they create this big splash of water and everything. But they, like, for bigger ships and stuff, it wouldn't like harm them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you would feel the rock of the boats, but it wouldn't sink them or anything. What ended up happening was it was sinking some ships, but it was sinking tons of small fishing vessels.
Yep.
And
Saw that one coming.
and other boats that were using the canal from the Netherlands, from other parts of South America, and other allies. And I think that's when the Wall Street Journal, so the Wall Street Journal gets a hold of that information and goes to Congress, and they're like, "Hey, Congress, remember when you told them not to do this?
Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, here's what's happening," and it looks
It's going down.
super suspicious. Like, this kind of looks exactly like what you said not to do.
Hey, don't do that.
So Congress gets understandably angry, and they passed 2 more amendments that kind of cover up those loopholes that he had found, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that he couldn't do anything. And here's the thing is Reagan is pretending to be on board because he has to, I mean, if it's an amendment that goes through the House, he's got to sign it.
Yeah.
So he signs all of these amendments. So now he's got these things that are hindering him that
He's
he's
playing
signed
both
into law.
sides.
And so here we go. This is where it gets fun. So Reagan finds some other ways just to do it without Congress knowing. We're getting into the treason territory here. So
Watch what you say. We're in Ohio.
I forgot. Sorry. This is just history. I mean, and again, the best way to do this. There's a good podcast that I listen to occasionally as well. It's called Stuff You Need to Know. It's interesting. It's kind of it's given to you in like little bites of knowledge. I think it's really good. I use that for a reference to get some of this stuff back. And then
This is a red state.
the Ronald Reagan episode of The Dollop and the Colin Powell episode of The Dollop go super deep into this, and they give you all the names and dates and all that stuff, and you can obviously do some research and look it up yourself. But so finding myself in my notes. So all while that's happening, he's got here comes like Oliver North. Okay, so you recognize that name?
It sounds familiar.
So
But-
Oliver North, ex-Marine, retired Marine, excuse me, not ex-Marine, I'm an idiot.
Sounds like a movie character, though.
Yes, he does. And he does all of the stuff that happens during this sounds like this was a movie. I don't know how it's not a movie yet. But Oliver North comes in, they basically get treason is treason. Thank
Very
you,
true.
Aaron.
Thank you.
But so they basically, what they're doing, what Ronald Reagan starts to do is he starts to try and paint a picture in the public eye of the Sandinistas being bad, the Contras being good, very black and white, where he's saying all these, they're doing all these things. And also on the side, they have people who are campaigning. Basically what happens is they're throwing a bunch of parties and they're saying, hey, you should donate some money to this cause, and it would look really good for your business. Here's Ronald Reagan. You want a picture with him? And they're getting money this way. So now they're not giving congressional dollars to the Contras. They're giving
The money that he
The
makes from
donated-
personal appearances
correct, and it's
or
just
something.
yeah, it's not technically congressional. Money, so
Yeah.
they're finding ways, and so, but also, again, they're kind of inept down there. So the CIA starts kind of like helping and controlling in what they're doing and trying to incite a coup, basically. So the 2 names that are coming up that you'll need to remember are Oliver North and John Poindexter. So there's a lot of other stuff in between, and there's quite a few other people, but anyway, so Congress has shut off the money that at the time that is start having the secret fundraisers. I got that part. So this works in other countries. In the countries flush with cash now. That now Contras are getting tons of money, but they don't know what to do with it. They don't know where to buy it from.
Yeah.
They don't know where to buy the weapons or do anything, so they don't know what they're doing.
It's like, hey, we got to train an army.
Oh, man. So here we go. So Oliver North basically goes to a black market arms dealer who is this all gets very convoluted. You need to read up on it because it gets kind of tough. And so he basically buys the guns, flies over, and like kicks them out of the back of the plane for them. That's kind of the basics of what goes on, right?
Mm.
So, and all while they're trying to paint that picture of the Sandinistas being bad, they also got like crates of drugs, took them there, and photographed the Sandinistas with it, so they could come, so they could bring those pictures back to say, look at all the drugs they have.
Oh,
and
God.
Here's the kicker. Then those drugs come to the United States because the U.S.
Get the public on their
It
side.
brings them back. And there's just a lot of nonsense happening throughout all of this. And again, I'm a big dummy. There's so much better material for this. I'm just trying to give cliff notes so you guys can kind of see what's going on. They paint the Sandinistas. They brought in the drugs. That the part was just when I'm like reading that, I'm like, they did what? Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering where Iran comes into this, right?
Yep.
So back in the 80s, early 80s and everything, when the Ayatollah Khomeini took over in Iran, that's when a bunch of like kidnappings and stuff were huge and stuff started happening. So kidnapping's big game now, and that's when the Argo thing happened, where they had to do that. So that's all part of this, right? So yeah, they took 60 people hostage for over a year. But the U.S. has a long-standing tradition of you do not negotiate with terrorists because that just encourages other terrorists to kidnap people so they can try to get stuff out of it. Again, this gets confusing. So here's where everything gets kind of weird. So I think Reagan came out and said specifically, it's like, we do not negotiate with terrorists and all this. But all the while, they kind of end up negotiating with terrorists. So what they do
different terrorists.
So Israel negotiates with terrorists. So kind of very, very broad and blanket of kind of what was happening back then is between Israel and Palestine.
So they're negotiating with people that negotiate with terrorists.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So Israel, Palestine would be like, hey, we have 5 of your guys and we want this stuff. And they'd be like, oh, okay, cool. So then Israel would go like kidnap 5 Palestinian people. It's like, well, we can trade 5 for 5 then. Or they'd be like, well, we have 2, let's go kidnap 3 more, and then we have 5. So. But that was like happening a lot.
That's crazy.
It's bonkers. So to do that, they get over there to do that through Iran, and they negotiate. There was one person that they got out doing that and everything, and then Reagan decides that it's too messy. And all of this obviously is you got to kind of look it up to be sure, because the spoilers at the end of this, like, everybody kind of gets away with it. So and they kind of covered up everything. So it's like kind of one of those things. It's like, oh, you don't have evidence. Well, okay, it's okay because it gets crazier. So what they end up doing is spoilers indeed. They do that one transaction through Israel, right? So they decide that took way too long and it was difficult, and they just go to Oliver North and be like, can you just do that? Can you just get, like, take them the guns and stuff? Kind of like, you're doing it so well for the Contras and stuff. Can we just do that in Iran? So Oliver North says yes. Now, there's another little crazy story in this where he goes into Iran to talk to these people about doing this, where he was given like cyanide capsules to keep it, so if he gets captured, he can kill himself. And he goes in as like William B. Good, I think is his alias when he goes in there. Is just Billy Good, Billy B. Good.
His name is
it's crazy, but all of that goes well. So he's like, yep, cool. We'll start giving you weapons and stuff, and in exchange, they're basically getting money for that now, which then they send to the Contras. So is everything's kind of coming full circle now. So at this point in the story, They are selling guns to Iran, taking that money and giving it to the Contras so they can continue fighting the Sandinistas. Bonkers, right? All right, so, and remember, this whole time, all this is going on for roughly 4 years at this point, I think, and Congress has no idea any of this is going on. So fast forward 4 years, in the House flips again back to Democrat, and I'm sorry, it flips again back to a Republican, and they're back on board with doing whatever Reagan says, and they give Reagan $100 million to send to the Sandinistas, which they don't really need at this point. But so this part, this is so bonkers. So there's a guy who's been doing this for them. They're paying like these people under the table to fly over here, and all they're supposed to do is kick these crates of guns out the back. Goodbye, Carson. Thanks for hanging out. And so, but all they got to do is kick the guns out the back and stuff. So there was this sharpshooter who ended up shooting the plane down. Okay, it's going down, and basically like everybody gets captured, but they also have like their passports from where they're from, flight logs of all the stuff they've been doing and how many passes they've made, how many times they've done this. They basically, and the guy who gets like captured, he's just like, what do you want to know? He's just spilling the beans on everything. So at that point, like everything's kind of out there. And then while that's happening, they're also doing these big parties back in the U.S. and they're having like these soldier. The specific one they cite is a soldier of fortune party where basically they get drunk and loose-lipped and they start saying, "You got to hear what we're doing down in Nicaragua," and then that leaks to the press. So now that's out of. I think it was they said within a month of each other, both of these things happened, where both things are now out there. So immediately, Oliver North shuts down everything. They stop doing all of it. That just sounds like a hustle finding a hitman. Yeah, with snitches. Kind of, yeah. So immediately, Oliver North shuts down everything. He's just like, we're done. And he's doing, like, he starts, like, burning and shredding everything, every bit of evidence with his secretary, Fawn Hall, who is credited basically as the one who really, got rid of all the documents, basically. Okay. So there's no, we'll never know the scope of what else they were doing. We just know these few things of what they were up to. It could have been way more, or it could have just been this. We don't know.
Yeah.
So Oliver North and Fawn Hall, they shred all the documents.
The evidence that we have.
Correct. So from there, just in the aftermath, Oliver North basically takes responsibility for everything. And you got to remember, George H.W. Bush at this time is vice president and would probably be, because he used to be the CIA director for a time. He's got to know what's going on. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So he's got to know all of that. So basically, Oliver North takes the fall for everything. And the big way they do that is, like, John Poindexter, basically, they fabricate like a phone call of Oliver North saying, "Hey, we're going to go behind the president's back and do all this without him knowing anything." And that's kind of their main evidence that Ronald Reagan didn't know anything.
Yeah, that he was absolved.
Yes. So it's not even that. So it gets better. So Ronald Reagan appoints, where do I have it? I stopped, like, I was, at that point I was doing speak to text while I was trying to remember all this because I was on a scissor lift all day, like doing stuff, and I'm just using speak to text to try and figure out what all of this. So some of this is very jumbled. Yeah, there was no way that Reagan and George H.W. Bush were going to go down for this, and I think Oliver North knew that. He's like, I'm going to have to take the fall, and so and everybody at the time loved Oliver North because they see him as this patriot who was fighting the communist Sandinistas and helping the Contras, and the government, they weren't trying to help, because obviously that's how they were painting it this whole time. This whole time, Reagan's doing all these speeches and stuff, condemning drugs, and the Sandinistas don't do drugs and just say no. All that stuff's happening. They do the phone call. that's the point where we get to. That's when the press was all over him, and that's where I was at in that podcast, where they're just coming up with these crazy things. Because actually, at this point, this is kind of when Ronald Reagan's losing it too. He starts saying some crazy stuff, and it's pretty famous that like Nancy Reagan, who I feel also had to know all this was going down, because she was becoming like the mouthpiece. Like she'd stand behind him and like lean over him and whisper like. It's like it was a terrible tragedy. Like it's a terrible tragedy, and like it's all pretty bonkers. So Ronald Reagan appoints the Tower Commission to investigate how this happened. He appoints the people in his cabinet who did this to find out who did this.
So it's Matt Damon in The Departed.
Yeah,
I gotta find myself.
So, okay, so. Here's the main part that the investigation, the whole point of what I feel the investigation was they find that there is a possibility that Reagan knew nothing about this, and that's what the report says. Is there is an actual possibility that Reagan knows absolutely nothing about what went on, and that's what they report. And that's what happens. So they found that. All right, so. Basically, what you're finding is they kind of all get off scot-free. Some of I think the only sentence that was doled out is like somebody got like 6 months of probation. And then when Herbert Walker Bush was leaving office, because trials were still going on forever, and some haven't even gone to court yet. On his last night, I think it was on Christmas Eve, the night before
H.W. Bush took over?
When he leaves office, he issues 6 pardons. Which at that point had just basically that was the final blow. That was the final wash, because now nothing else can happen. So that's the kind of the most infamous thing to happen in our government ever. Like high treason, as in clearly going behind the government's back and doing all that anyway. So that was very long-winded too. I feel like I could have probably tightened that up a bit, but I find it all very interesting, and how you quote unquote get away with stuff like that. And Oliver North, I think, is still he's alive. I think he's a correspondent on Fox News.
Wow.
But he's still hailed as a hero.
Right.
I mean, at that point, Reagan's approval rating dropped to like, gosh, I want to say it was like in the low 40s or below 40%. But by the time he actually left office, he was back up to like 68%.
Yeah.
Which also, I was hoping Gavin was here, because I'm pretty sure this is episode 69. Right? That's why I was hoping Gavin would be here.
Nice.
Anyway.
It just reminded me of like all I kept thinking about was the Whitest Kid sketch of Ronald Reagan.
Which one?
It's like it's got the pop-up video like subtitles like below it or whatever.
Yeah.
Or he's like I want to name it Star Wars or something. He's like, oh my God, he actually did that.
Yeah. So, gotta prove it's beyond a reasonable doubt. And well, I don't know, man. It was just bonkers. I listen to a lot of American history, but I love like a comedian's version of American history, just because I like to laugh.
I mean, so, you kind of have to break it up a little bit.
Oh yeah, because it's a lot of heavy information.
Yeah. And like, well, I mean, a lot of times you're getting pissed about it.
Yeah.
And like, so it helps to have somebody make a joke in between.
Oh, absolutely. And and you can tell like on the dollop they feel it. Man, this is a heavy episode. It's like, I love when Gareth is sometimes like, where am I supposed to make the joke, Dave? That's like kind of my when he has to
what's the joke supposed to be?
So yeah, I just thought that everybody should know a little bit about the Iran Contra Affair, because I find it fascinating. Because I was also big into like presidents in history when I got out of school, because I really felt there was something wrong. And I remember watching a PBS documentary with Hannah. And it was about like Martin Luther King and basically everything that was happening in the South at that time. And I'm like, do you remember learning this? Something seems wrong.
Yeah. No, I'm big into like government conspiracies. So like, I was eating that up.
Yeah. So that one's really good. I highly suggest people go. I mean, you could just go on to like any podcasting thing and just type in Iran Contra. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
Podcasts out there who have covered it. I just think the Dollop was a lot more fun because it had Patton Oswalt, and I love him. But I also have like the PBS. It's like a 8 DVD box set of some presidents. I didn't get all of them, but I got some of the ones I wanted to know more about. Like I love Teddy Roosevelt. I think he's a super interesting guy. And it's like the more you learn about him as it goes, like his whole presidency and stuff, and just his life.
Yeah.
Is so interesting, and how many speeches he gave on one campaign that wasn't even for him, where he made so many stops, and he's such a prolific speaker and stuff. There's stuff like that out there that's I think American history we need to know. I don't know when I can start kind of showing my kids real American history and being like, this stuff happened, and it's important for you to know. But I also don't want to so distrust in them so young. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things, like I want you to question things, but I also don't want you to outright never trust anything.
Man, that's tough. I never thought about that. Like,
Yeah.
if I had kids, like, what would I tell them about the government? Like,
Yeah, because you can't just start spouting
no,
conspiracies at
you
your
can't.
kids.
You can't make them crazy. You know,
can't, like, I
so
mean,
early in life. You know.
when like things, when like January 6th happened, and
Yeah.
when riots happened, when all of these, like when police commit crimes basically, and it's in the news, it's hard to explain that to them because they only learn that they need to trust police officers, and you know what?
Yeah.
Some police officers,
And I mean, and you do like
Yeah.
you have to. You know. I mean,
exactly, and you have to. I mean, we're very forward thinking in trying to discuss, because I mean my kids aren't even close to driving age or anything, but I talk to them about traffic laws and stuff while we're in the car all the time, and about getting pulled over and how you act and
Yep.
what you do and all of this, no matter what. But I can't imagine being a black man you have to learn so much more.
Yeah.
You have to be way more careful, and I've always just felt awful for that. And then you start learning things even just from PBS, where it's just like, they didn't teach us any of this. I know I went to a white school, but boy howdy, I feel worse now.
you know how you went to. You can tell how you can tell you went to a white school. You just said, "Boy howdy."
Boy howdy. Yeah, I know, Aaron, and yeah, I understand. But I mean, it's I don't know.
Yeah, but
So
okay, yeah.
there's just a lot.
I'm not gonna try to sway you, Aaron, but like I'm
No way.
just saying, like,
No way.
I feel like at some point in your life you kind of have to, like,
Yeah.
you're
Looks like a bit.
dying on the street because you got shot or something.
Mm.
Kind of have to call the cops.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe not first. You want to kind of get that taken care of, but
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
But yeah, so I highly suggest people go out there and kind of look up Iran Contra, because there's just some crazy interesting stuff out
Fair enough, Aaron.
there. Yeah, fair enough, Aaron. So, did you have anything that we need to learn, Tim? Do you want to add to that? I'm sorry, I talked for a good half hour.
I mean, I don't have anything profound like that, you know.
Well, I think we need to lighten it up, don't we?
I learned that Detroit is actually a pretty cool city.
You know what? I've always wanted to go up there to the because Scheckler does that Red Bull contest in Detroit, where it's like it's a skateboarding contest, but it starts like kind of at the top, and you have to hit these different things as you're going down, and then there's a final obstacle at the end. I really am like, ooh, I want to go to Detroit to see that, because the only version in my head of Detroit is RoboCop.
Yeah.
So
And like,
not
you know,
great.
I mean, it gets a bad rap. I don't know, just from your life. You're like, hey, I shouldn't go to Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get shot. You
Yeah.
know. But no, I mean, it was fine. Like, we walked everywhere.
Nice.
Our hotel was like, it was a Hollywood casino and and a hotel as well. So I mean, I think, but they had sports betting, so I did actually spend like $50.
Did you win anything?
No, I didn't win anything.
Oh,
No.
come on.
But
sports betting would.
they
be
gave us like $10 in free like cash with the room, and like that's literally all we spent besides my sports bet.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad, but then it was pretty cool. They have a ton of stuff just like in that one area that's really cool in the downtown area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause they had a bunch.
And
of
it's all
sculptures
within
and
like
stuff.
pretty well within walking distance. Like it wasn't a
not
bad walk at all.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, I think the trip that I would make is for if they continue doing that Red Bull downhill challenge thing that they did there. I'd love to get there to see that. I think it's super cool.
Also, like, I didn't realize it's closer than Cincinnati is. It's like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah,
I did not realize.
I
that
didn't
at
either.
all.
Like, and it's not bad. I mean, it's like 30, 30 to 75 or whatever.
Really?
30 is the worst of it. But
Yeah. I think anybody who lives around here knows 30 is the worst of it. Jeez.
But yeah, it was a good time.
Well, I'm glad you had fun. Who did you see? Gaslight Anthem?
Went to see Gaslight Anthem.
Nice.
Which they killed it. They were awesome.
That's fun. Cool. All right, so I got a fun 3 dumb things. I'm excited. I don't remember what button it is. I hope it's this.
Nice.
3, 2, 1, 3 dumb things.
All right, man. So my 3 dumb things this week. Soundtracks that I feel are better than the movie.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, I know y'all out there have got to have some where you're like, this soundtrack is fire, but this
I've
movie
got
is
one
fire.
off the top of my head, but you can go ahead with yours.
All right, so number 3, let me bring these up over here so we can look at them. Number 3 is Resident Evil.
Oh, that's a
The
hands down,
first,
yeah.
the first Resident Evil, because this is also back when, they did, like they would take good metal songs and stuff, but then they would do like remixes.
Put it on the thing.
Oh, I didn't. I thought I had. I'm sorry. Everybody can look at this now.
There we go.
So Resident Evil, obviously. So you had My Plague, which I was bummed that.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, that was in this one. I'm trying to remember.
That's in a lot, though.
A
Like,
lot.
it's in everything.
So yeah, this came out in 2002. It on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 35% critic score
Yeah.
and a 67% audience score, which I thought was, I'm like, wow, that's cool, because I remember when it came out, I'm like, this movie is trash.
What's the audience score?
67.
No, like what is it? Just like
Oh,
fans?
It's fans.
Oh, okay. I'm stupid.
The critic score is like,
Oh no, I
yeah.
didn't hear you say the first part. I thought
Yeah,
that
sorry.
was like both.
yeah.
Okay.
So
All
it
right.
has My Plague, the new Abuse mix, which I love. The fight song Slipknot remix. So that was I love the fight song because that was the song for
Oh, it's
Invasion.
got Dig.
Yeah, it does.
Dig. It's a great song.
Something Told Me by Cold Chamber, Name of the Game by the Crystal Method, which is a great music video, by the way. It's the guy with the nose for the head.
Yep.
Remember that? It's great.
Well,
video.
Crystal Methods.
It had
got some
Edema on there, Fear
really good
Factory,
music videos.
Static X, because this is also the time when they did like crossovers, like the fight song with Slipknot. That's awesome.
Yep.
Depeche Mode, Rammstein, Mudvayne, Method Man. This had a great soundtrack.
Also, this just like speaks to you. I mean,
It kinda does.
Like, this is all
This
you.
is
like
This
right
is
here.
right. This is high school era where that's big when you're going to, the movies a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of that, and that's back then. We went to the CD store, and they're like, "Man, this movie was awesome. It had some good songs in it. I'm gonna go buy the soundtrack."
Aaron in chat mentions Joe Dirt. I don't remember Joe Dirt's soundtrack. To
I
be
don't
honest.
either.
I know.
We'll look it up.
I know there's is it Joe Diffie? No, that's a country guy. Joe Walsh, I think.
Yeah. Joe Walsh.
Life of Illusion is in there, maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
Assume.
I can't remember. It's been a really long time since I've seen Joe Dirt.
All right, number 2, Batman and Robin soundtrack. That's a fire soundtrack, man.
It is, man. I had a Batman and Robin poster in my bedroom.
Same. I had Alicia Silverstone on my wall.
I had
And
all
the Bat-
four.
and
I
the
had all
Batgirl.
4 of them.
Oh man.
Like it was Arnold.
Yeah.
And,
It
yeah.
had, like that movie.
The
poster
Corners or
that.
whatever, yeah.
Yep. So that one, a 12% critic score and a 16% audience
tracks.
score.
Oh, wrong song. Aaron says it's Life's Been Good.
Of
Okay.
course, it
All right.
had to be Life. It's been good. But yeah, I remember this one specifically. I still have it over there because it's not on Spotify anymore. But this started with "The End is the Beginning is the End" by Smashing Pumpkins, and it ends with "The Beginning is the End is the Beginning."
Yeah.
That's awesome. I thought that was so cool that they did that. But then,
But also, you're aiming the bar very low, you know?
yeah, kind of. But this also had like one of my favorite Bone Thugs song, "That Look Into My Eyes."
Mhm.
Love that song. Foolish Games, Jewel, good tune.
Yeah.
I thought that was good. I think that
I
was
like Jewel.
I do too. I
Not
think
gonna
she's
lie.
great. I think she's great. Soul Coughing. There's some good stuff in there. Lazy Eye, great song.
It's a great song.
Like that stuff. That Gotham City by R. Kelly. They brought him back after
R.I.P..
Forever. R.I.P.
He might as well be dead to me.
Yeah. Should have known that was coming. All right, my number one. This is the best soundtrack ever, man. Queen of the Damned soundtrack, because this was the one that had everybody like posting up with
Well, I've got a few in my head right now, actually.
But here's the thing: is like this is where it was. This was Wayne Static. This wasn't Static X. This was a Wayne Static.
Headstrong.
It had Well, that's Headstrong.
I know. Yeah.
The Earshot.
Yeah.
But David Draymond.
Change in the House of Flies.
Yes, this is an amazing soundtrack.
Yeah.
Because then it not only has a Wayne Static song on here, it also has a Static X song on here.
Nice.
It has David Draymond, but he also had a Disturbed song on here. This is a great. Dead Cell is a great song by Papa Roach. Not a huge fan of Papa Roach, but they have some good songs.
Yeah, they used to.
Like, that's the other one that had the Chester Bennington song. I love that song.
Before I found out how much of an idiot he is.
I don't like him. I'm just not a fan of his.
No.
But Kidney Thieves.
Oh, that's funny. He was on a soundtrack with Static X.
Jerk.
Yeah.
He was. Dry Cell was on that. Dude, this is a great soundtrack. So yeah, I know you all out there probably have. You can think of some. Tim, are you thinking some off the top of your head?
Spider-Man 2.
Oh, good one.
I know, like the movie is great. But the soundtrack might be even better.
Yeah.
It's got Vindicated by Dashboard Confessional. Hold On by Jet. It's a great song.
Vindicated. There you go.
This Photograph is Proof by Taking Back Sunday. Hell yeah.
That was good soundtrack.
Give It Up.
Smile
Midtown.
Empty Soul.
Love that.
Woo.
Love that song.
Switchfoot.
That Atari song is really good. Lost Prophets, that song is really good too. Their lead singer is in jail.
I hate him.
Though,
he should be
yeah.
with them. I can't. I won't listen to Lost Prophets anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do.
Oh, just disgusting. But yeah, that's a good one. Good
and
choice,
then
Tim.
Twilight.
I don't know what was on Twilight.
It's honestly just for the one Paramore song that's on there that's really good.
Okay.
That Decode song. But yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I like that Three Dumb Things. I think I'm going to do, once we got the Discord going and stuff, I think I'm going to do I'll go through all three of these albums on the Discord and play them and just kind of do like.
Look at Joe Dirt real quick. I'm interested.
Oh, okay. Got it. Hold on. Joe Dirt. Dirt soundtrack. Oops. Joe Dirty. Joe Dirt soundtrack.
Guy likes to see homos naked.
Soundtrack. All right. There we go. Let me bring this back up. All right, so we got
a whole lot of that's kind of what I expect from a
Sweet Home Alabama, Walk on Water, Eddie Money. I love Eddie Money. Let's see.
I'm gonna disagree, Aaron.
Turn over your
I think the movie is better. Not that the music is bad. I'm just saying.
China Grove is the best Doobie Brothers song. Just putting that out there.
Burning for You is good.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Love you, Cheap Trick, dude. If you want my love, I love Cheap Trick. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good pick, Aaron. All right. So from there, what did I have? Oh, we got Dummies picks next. Sweet. Let's get banned from Twitch.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies.
We need to watch this movie. It's like, oh, should I come over to your house and watch it on standard def DVD?
Yes. Do you think Shaq got rich playing in Orlando? No, he got rich playing in college. Everybody knows that.
The Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie.
Starring has-beens and never-was-it.
With Bob Marley and Prince.
Well, I've been watching The Simpsons like nonstop.
Oh, this is the worst day of my life.
The worst day of your life so far.
I like to introduce a little bit of older music and kind of work my way up.
Like hotel books specifically?
This is called Quick Little Freestyle. I don't actually know if this is any good, but we'll go for it.
They made a CKY mix for me, and man, that whole mix is fire. I love it. It's good stuff. But sorry, Tim, I didn't even.
Oh, you're good. I actually don't even really have that much.
Don't have that much? Okay.
No.
Well, that makes that easy then. So, other things I had, Rick and Morty. I've been checking out the new season.
Nice.
It's really good. A lot of people like get super critiquey when it comes to Rick and Morty.
They do. It's a very touchy subject.
I don't know why. I don't understand it. Why can't you just enjoy it for what it is? I don't quite understand that, but I'm really enjoying it. I love the themes that they're going with, and I don't know, the characters are fun. I just think it's interesting. So yeah, leave them alone. Leave Rick and Morty alone.
Leave him alone.
They announced the date that season 2 of Gangs of London is coming. I know I'm the only one who cares. But Gareth Reynolds is still not Gareth Reynolds. He's the
Edwards?
comedian.
So-
Gareth
yeah.
Edwards is going to produce it all, but the guy who did 3 episodes is going to direct the whole thing, and he directed my favorite episode of the last season. So I'm all in. Let's go. If you haven't watched it, you have to watch it on AMC Plus. I bought the Blu-ray because I wasn't buying AMC Plus. If you can, if it's still on AMC Plus, go get their free 1-month deal and watch Gangs of London because it's that good. It's so good. I haven't got completely caught up, but Archer's new season was out, which because I thought they were going to be done, but again, it's Archer. It's fun. It's a great show. I'll keep watching it. Did you see the Last of Us trailer?
No, I did not
put out the
actually. I heard
trailer.
about it, but yeah.
I have a theory on the Last
Aaron
of
says
Us.
his wife likes Gangs in London.
What, really?
There you go.
I got a new best friend.
Aaron in chat. His wife likes Gangs in London. For everybody else listening here.
You're right. Yeah, who's not on Twitch? Sorry, but so Last of Us. If you haven't played the game, it's basically a story of what happens if it's a zombie type story, but the story is really about if the show's coming out and nobody played the game, I guess I don't want to spoil it.
From what I've heard, it kind of looks exactly
It
like
does.
the game.
It does.
So-
It looks almost identical, and Pedro Pascal's in it. Who's the girl that plays Ellie?
I think she's from Game of Thrones. I'm not
Okay.
exactly sure what her name is, but
I couldn't really. I didn't really watch Game of Thrones, so I don't know. But anyway, it's good. I do have a theory on it. Maybe after that comes out, we'll have a big deep dive into my theory on it because I really think that it could have ended different if they did something.
I just don't know. I mean, I'm excited about it just because it's something I can watch and I don't have to play. Cause
Yeah,
but
because Tim gets so skilled.
yeah,
I'm
but-
afraid.
but like, why did you need it? Like, is it really going to be an improvement over the game?
I don't think it's going to be an improvement over the game. I think it's going to. It's just going to bring a new audience to it.
Yeah.
Because there's people who don't have a PlayStation, and there's people who are
True.
just not going to play the game who maybe have a PlayStation.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah. So they're going to reach that audience, and it's going to do big numbers because the people who played it are probably going to watch it. They're not going to be like, I'm not going to watch this. But
Yeah.
I can imagine they're because a lot of people might watch it just
I think
to
they'll still
critique
check it out,
Yeah.
even if they have played it.
I mean, I'll probably watch it. Yeah, I probably will.
Yeah.
I think I will. But I'm interested. The trailer, they did a good job. I thought the trailer didn't give away a ton, but you had kind of an idea of what was going on. So I'm like, okay, I could see if nobody knew what this was, they could get into it. So I just wrote down a couple new podcasts that I've been listening to that I thought everybody should check out. I don't think Tim would. You do this thing like when you hear something, you can't just take it for what it is right when you hear it.
Yeah.
You get super critical.
Yeah,
of
I
it.
do.
Like this podcast called Cinephobe.
I've listened to that.
Have you? Was Zach Harper?
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Really.
Because Amin is on Dan Le Batard's show, and I like Dan Le Batard's show a lot.
Okay, yeah, but I am really into it. I've listened to several
What's
episodes.
Cinephobe? It's like a long joke on Le Batard. Is that every time they say and mention anything about Cinephobe, he goes into the long explanation of what the podcast is.
Awesome. It's good. I like the way that because there's a lot of when they're talking about the movie, there's parts where they kind of act it out, and it's just fun. I think it's cool. It took a little bit to get into it. I'm like, because I remember like the first time I listened to an episode, I'm like, do they seriously have 3 intros? They have like 3 intro songs they play, but they're all good, and they're all stuck in my head. They're hilarious. So I like that.
Maybe they didn't get a fair shake.
Rivals is another one I've been listening to. I found it on Spotify, but it's these 2 guys who do a deep dive into like music's best rivalries. Like they had a 4-part episode on Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. They had a 3-part episode on the Eagles. They do a really good deep dive.
Oh, please
into
tell me
it.
they did Fleetwood Mac.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a several part episode on Fleetwood Mac, but
Nice.
they're not long either. They're not long. They're good chunks that you can just kind of throw on, and it's good information. I enjoy it immensely. I've gone through and listened to a lot of the things.
Let's check that out.
Yeah, that one's good. It's called Rivals. It's two guys. I can't remember their names off the top of my head now, but I've also completely caught up on No Accounting for Taste with Kyle Kinane and Shane Torres. I really like that podcast. I think people should listen to that too, just because it's.
I'll listen if it's like a topic I think I'll like.
Oh, I listen to everyone. I really enjoy it.
Or I think that it'll be funny or whatever. But
on the newest All Fantasy Everything, Matt Bronger was on it.
Nice.
And they did fictional bosses. It was good. It was a good one. And then Dumb People Town. I don't know if I ever told you about that one. That one's also really good. I think is that a Zach Harper joint too? I don't remember who the other guy. No, that's Dan.
I don't think so.
Dan somebody. I don't remember. But it's got the Sklar brothers in it too.
Oh.
You don't like them?
Not particularly.
Oh,
No.
I think they're funny. But Dumb People Town's really funny. Like reader or like people who listen to it, they'll send in a really dumb, thing that happened in a news story in their town or something, and they'll read it, and they always have comedians on. It's good. Bronger was on that recently too.
Nice.
But that was good. So those are all my check 'em outs.
Hell yeah.
Check 'em outs.
Did
Shout
I?
out Sam.
Yeah. Wrong podcast.
Yeah.
Again, wrong podcast.
Yeah. We're doing great.
Did I don't know if I mentioned Barbarian on here.
You mentioned it. Did you go see it?
Yeah. It was amazing.
Was it?
Oh my gosh. Like I was so proud. It sounds weird to say, but
Well, we're pulling
cuz
for the
technically
guy
I
we
don't
really
know
like.
I don't know Zach.
Yeah.
For those that follow or have listened to this podcast, who know that we're huge fans of Whitest Kids,
Huge.
who Zach Kreger was a part of, and
It's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually created the movie, wrote and directed Barbarian. Yeah, go see it definitely if you're a fan of scary movies. I know you are not, but
Nope. I won't see it.
But you want to go in like absolutely cold because you won't. Not that you'll guess what happens in it, but like
I watched the trailer. It looked interesting.
it's very, very good. I want to see it again.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was just very, very impressed with it. What else? Oh, me and Lakin are watching the Dahmer documentary like everybody else is, but
I didn't care enough.
it's fine. I mean,
You're watching Dahmer. I'm watching the Great British Bake Off. That's what we do around here.
two Americas.
Yeah. That, Great British Bake Off, and the new season of The Floor is Lava.
Yeah, we need to watch that. We haven't watched the new one yet. We watched.
We started the new one.
That's weird because like they literally just came out with season 2,
Yeah.
and it was
were
like what,
flabbergasted
3
to see-
episodes.
Yeah.
So
It was very strange, but yeah, enjoy that as well. As a family, we watch those things as if they like the Great British Bake Off, so we all watch it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how all that happens. But then I'm usually down here like editing or figuring stuff out, so I don't watch too much.
and then I've been running. I go through phases of like TV shows. Lakin kind of reminded me of that fact today. She's just like, there's like phases of your TV shows that some of them I can tolerate, and some of them I absolutely like. I'm absolutely like, I hate it when you go through that phase.
What phase does she hate now?
Well, this one is actually one that she can tolerate ish. Where I'm rewatching Community.
Okay.
Based on the news of the movie coming out. So.
Oh yeah, I forgot they're doing a movie.
6 seasons in a movie, and then. But yeah, ones that she actually absolutely hates is Workaholics.
I love
she can't
Workaholics.
stand Workaholics.
I could see Hannah can't stand much of what I watch, but
Same.
I love Workaholics.
And one she actually does like is The League. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. I could never get.
if I go
into
into
The
a
League, but
phase of that, she'll be like, "Hey, cool." Or How I Met Your Mother. She likes How I Met Your Mother.
I won't watch that again. I just watched it what it was on, and it's just like I have no desire to go back to it. I don't think it's that great. I don't know.
I thought it was funny though. She's just like, "Yeah, there's some that absolutely. There's phases of TV shows that you go through, and I absolutely hate it." I'm like, oh, okay.
Not
Not that I'm gonna stop going through those phases.
Well,
but-
no one expects you to. but I had to remember the button for this too. I don't have a dad vice, but I do have a
Teach me something.
boom. Sorry, I didn't have a dad vice for this one. I couldn't come up with one off the top of my head. I will next time, I promise. So Tim.
Yeah.
Did you know motion sickness is caused by your brain's inability to coordinate with your eyes, causing your body to believe something toxic is destroying your nerve tissue, aka being poisoned, and vomiting to get the poison out.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Well, now you do. Fun. Shout-outs, Patreon to subscribers. We got the Average AF Podcast, Nerd Overload Podcast, Jarrett Ramey, Tony Means, Mike Kovacic, Nate Collins, Greener Grass Podcast, and Leah Corto. Yeah, boom, nailed it.
Woo!
Because I didn't have those last ones on here. See? If you were on the video, you could see that. You can visit tpublic.com for any of the Teach a Dummy merch. You can just search Teach a Dummy and it comes up. That's how I find it when I want to find something. And podcasts are spread by word of mouth. If you like what we do, please tell a friend. That's your mission this week. If you're listening to this, tell one friend about the Teach a Dummy podcast, and we'll see what happens.
And the Off the Tongue Podcast Network.
And
if you feel so inclined.
Yes. Tell one friend about the Off the Tongue Podcast Network. All you gotta do is go to Spotify, type in Off the Tongue Podcast Network, and all of us come up. Greener Grass Podcast, Average AF Podcast, Escape Mansfield, and the Teach a Dummy Podcast. I pointed wrongly. Go me. If you like what we do, please tell a friend and make sure you subscribe. If you could do one thing this week, just be nice to someone, anyone, please and thank you.
And also, tell a friend.
And also tell her. Well, I guess that's a goodbye for me, BJ.
That's a goodbye for me. Tim. That's me.
Peace.
See ya.